At the southern tip of Florida lies one of the strangest and most precious landscapes in all of America. From a distance, it looks like an endless field of grass, flat to the horizon in every direction. But this is not a field, and it is not a swamp. It is a river you can walk beside, more than 1 million acres of slow-moving water hidden in the grass. The Everglades is a river 60 miles wide and only inches deep, sliding south so slowly you cannot see it move. It begins near Lake Okeechobee and creeps toward the sea at a few feet an hour. The local peoples had a name for it long before the parks and the maps. They called it Pa-hay-okee, the grassy waters. For a long time, outsiders saw only a worthless swamp to be drained and built upon. Then in 1947, a writer named Marjory Stoneman Douglas gave the world a new way to see it, in a book called The Everglades, River of Grass. 1 month later, the national park was born, the first ever created not for its mountains or canyons, but simply to protect a living wilderness. Up close, the grass is not really grass at all, but sawgrass, an ancient sedge edged with tiny teeth. It stretches for miles, broken only by tear-shaped islands of trees. Beneath it all, the water moves, clear and shallow, the slow pulse that keeps this whole kingdom alive. This is the bird that gives the most famous trail its name, the Anhinga. It swims with only its head and neck above the surface, which is why people call it the snake bird. It has no waterproofing in its feathers, so after every dive it must stand and spread its wings to the sun, like a dark cloak hung out to dry. And here is the master of these waters, the American alligator. There may be 200,000 of them in the Everglades, but the real wonder is this: nowhere else on Earth do alligators and crocodiles live side by side. Only here, where the fresh water of the glades meets the salt of the sea, do these two ancient reptiles share a single home. The shallow water is a feast, and the hunters come on stilts. Great blue herons stand frozen as statues. Snowy egrets dance through the reeds, and if you are lucky, the impossible pink of a roseate spoonbill sweeps the mud for shrimp. A century ago, these same feathers would have cost the birds their lives. In the late 1800s, fashion demanded feathers. The plumes of egrets and herons were worth more than their weight in gold, used to decorate ladies' hats across Europe and America. Hunters poured into the Everglades and shot the great nesting colonies down to almost nothing, leaving the young to starve by the thousand. To stop them, the Audubon Society hired one of the first game wardens in America, a local man named Guy Bradley. For 3 years, he patrolled these waters alone. Then in 1905, he was shot dead by Plume Hunters off the coast near Flamingo. His murder shocked the nation, hardened the laws that saved the birds, and helped bring this national park into being. Where the land rises just a few inches, the river parts around islands of jungle called hammocks. Step inside and the world changes to cool green shade, to gumbo limbo trees with their peeling red bark, nicknamed the tourist tree because it always looks sunburned. These dense hammocks are arcs of life, holding species found nowhere else. On the highest, driest ground grows the rarest forest of all, the pine rockland. These slash pines live on bare limestone and they need fire to survive. Flames clear the brush below them and the pines, with their thick bark, simply shrug it off. Without the burns, this whole sunlit forest would vanish into hammock. People have lived in these grassy waters for thousands of years. When the Seminole Wars drove the Seminole and Miccosukee peoples deep into the glades, the Everglades became their refuge, a fortress of water and grass no army could conquer. Their descendants live here still, in open-sided homes called chickees, built for the heat and the flood. At last, the river of grass reaches the end of the land. The sawgrass gives way to a maze of mangroves, trees that walk on stilted roots and drink the salt sea. Beyond them opens Florida Bay, a shining nursery of fish and dolphins and crocodiles, where the long journey of the water finally meets the Gulf. Today, the Everglades is a World Heritage Site treasured around the globe. Yet it is also half the size it once was, drained and squeezed by the cities at its edge. The largest river restoration in human history is now underway, a vast effort to let the grassy waters flow free again. That is the Everglades, the river of grass at the bottom of America, a wilderness saved by a warden, a writer, and a single stubborn idea that some places are worth more wild. If you want to keep wandering places like this, follow along and let us keep exploring the world together.